Let's talk about something that you're not going to see in a tourist brochure. Because when people talk about the Bahamas, it's all beaches and resorts. But there's a history that ties the Bahamas directly to the Gullah Geechee people. And it's a story about survival, connection, and culture that they tried to erase. The truth is, the Bahamas and the Gullah Geechee people share deep historic ties that go all the way back to the horrors of the transatlantic slave trade. But it's also about what came after. How enslaved Africans and their descendants built and preserved culture even across borders. During the 1700s and into the early 1800s, the British brought thousands of enslaved Africans to the Carolinas and Georgia. They forced them to work the rice plantations, specifically because of their knowledge from West Africa. These enslaved people developed the Gullah Geechee culture, distinct language, craft traditions, foodways, spiritual practices, a culture born of African roots and a brutal necessity to survive. But here's the part they don't tell you. The Bahamas were a part of that same British colonial system. Enslaved Africans in the Bahamas often came from the same regions in West Africa. They carried similar languages, farming knowledge, and spiritual practices. This is why you see that striking cultural overlap between Gullah Geechee communities in the U.S. and Black Bahamian traditions. So after the American Revolution, white loyalists fled the newly formed U.S., and they brought enslaved Black people with them, including the Gullah Geechee people from the Carolinas and Georgia. They resettled these people in places like Abaco, Exuma, Eleuthera, and Nassau. And the result? Enslaved people in the Bahamas literally included the Gullah Geechee ancestors. Their cultural practices, stories, and foodways crossed the water with them. So today you can actually see it if you know where to look. Basket weaving styles, storytelling traditions, seafood dishes with rice and okra, spiritual traditions blending Christianity with African elements. These aren't coincidences. They're shared survival strategies. They're cultural memory that refused to die. But of course, colonial authorities tried to stomp out African languages and customs. Plantation owners in the Bahamas used the same tactics as those in South Carolina, breaking up families, banning drumming, criminalizing gatherings, but people held on. The Gullah Geechee people of the Carolinas and Georgia fought to keep their culture alive. So did Black Bahamians. They refused to be completely remade in the image of their oppressors. So yeah, when you think about the Bahamas, don't just stop at the beaches. Think about the people whose ancestors survived two brutal empires. Think about the ties that stretch all the way from Charleston to Nassau. Because Gullah Geechee culture isn't just an American story. It's a shared history of African survival in the face of everything they did to try to erase it. And it's still here, still speaking, if you're willing to listen.